Well, hello Blades fans, welcome to Bramall Lane for this, the pilot episode of the new official Sheffield United podcast, which we are calling One of Our Own. My name is Paul Walker, and hopefully you remember me from BBC Radio Sheffield, where I covered Sheffield United for well over a decade. I'll be your host, but as you can see, I am not alone. Kev Cookson from the club's media team is here as well, but we all know him as Cookie.
Hello, Paul.
Good morning. Now, the plan is that every month we'll sit down and talk to you about all things Sheffield United and also chat extensively with a special guest as you watch or listen in your home, your office, if you're lucky enough to have one of those, or your car. Now, before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. Reminding Blades fans of our presence on social media. You can find, follow, like, subscribe, or whatever you kids do these days. You can find us on your preferred platform at Sheffield United. For those of you a bit more traditional, like me, we'll still put information and news on the official website at sufc.co.uk. And don't forget, the match day programme, Up the Blade, is available every match day, and you get a full 100 pages for just £3.50, which basically will last you longer than a pint. Now, speaking of match day programmes, our first ever One of Our Own guests has featured in a few, I think it's fair to say, down the years. The first one being in February 1968, I suspect before the Lane lineup days, if anyone remembers them. Now, for the very first episode, we have gone right to the very top. Officially United's greatest ever player, a very warm welcome, Anthony William Currie, or TC, to anyone who knows him. Hello.
Hello.
Good
there.
to see you. Looking well, my friend. Looking well. Before we have a chat, just a little bit on your background. You'll have heard all this stuff before, but just to remind fans just how special this fella is. 378 Blades appearances between 1968 and 1976. That's right, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. Captain of the club.
Yeah, for a season.
Yeah, for a season. 7 England caps whilst with United. 17 in total.
Correct.
Factually correct.
Yep,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Good research.
We're doing well.
2 relegations, your first and last seasons, and 1 promotion.
Yes.
Well, you weren't so sure about that one.
No, it was.
That's right. Good.
No,
good.
it's depressing to think that we got 2 relegations in my time.
Don't worry, we'll skirt over those a bit later on. Club ambassador.
Yeah.
And you have been a director.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Chief of the Football in the Community Programme.
For 20 years.
For 20 years. Goodness me. And apparently you can do magic. Can you do magic? We should have brought you some cards or something. I feel like we've shortchanged you a bit.
So I'm told, but I don't think I can do the walk on water anymore. A bit heavy.
He's only here because we couldn't get Paul Daniels.
Now then, fans have got to be, I don't know, 50 to remember you playing?
Yeah, 50 plus.
Yeah,
50
making
plus,
you feel a
I
bit
think.
old.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've been around you when I've been at Bramall Lane. The amount of pictures that you have to pose for, even to this day, autographs, even for young kids as well.
Yeah.
Does that ever amaze you, the amount of stuff that you have to do like that?
Well, it does get handed down, the stories, doesn't it? It's can I have a picture for my grandfather now? So actually, I got one. Can I have one for my dad? That was good, but the other day. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. And if I walk up the moor or I'm in Sheffield, they still sort of get down and bow, sort of thing.
Do you get embarrassed by it?
No, not anymore. There's been a few times.
What's the funniest thing that anyone's ever come up to you and said?
Oh, blimey.
Any experiences like that, or asked you to sign unusual parts of the body, maybe?
It's a family show.
I know it's a family show.
I have had a couple of
you?
autograph me bras and things like that. Yeah, I have. Yeah, a long time ago though.
Now, how do you feel when you arrive at Bramall Lane and you see the stand named after you as well? I've got to ask you about that. That must be a special feeling every time you turn up to the lane.
Yeah, it took a bit of getting used to, but I do look at it every time I come in now. Yeah.
Nice though, eh?
It's very large. You can't miss it. It's just a fantastic honour. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And you spent more time up north now, I think, than you did down in London.
Boy.
Why isn't the accent gone? Why have you not got the Yorkshire accent?
It's watching EastEnders a lot and going back home a lot and talking to the family on the phone, things like that. I don't know. I don't know. There's a few of us like that, but there's others that do pick up a few things.
But this is home now, right?
I can do a bit of swearing in Yorkshire.
No, we better not do that now. But this is home now, isn't it? This is definitely home for you.
Oh yeah, it's been over 2/3 of my life up here.
Yeah.
44 years in Yorkshire.
44 years, crikey. Now, I was part of your celebration, the 50 years of being a Blade. What a night that was. I was actually hosting it that night, and I think we'd allocated a couple of hours. It went way beyond that. It was just ridiculous, because the amount of people who were there wanted to talk about you, obviously in glowing terms, and the amount of people that turned up to celebrate with you. That was a phenomenal night, wasn't it?
Well, one of the, perhaps in the top 5, perhaps top 3 of me, of my life. You know, it's just been. It was a fantastic night. The people that turned up, the people that honoured me by talking on the screen.
Yeah.
You know, the film stars and the pop stars and that
You know,
that talked. It was
as
just,
you do.
it was just fantastic. Yeah.
But players who you played with but not seen for a long time. There were
Yeah.
some emotional moments there, weren't there?
Yeah, well, it was nice to see David Bedford, the world record holder of 5,000 and 10,000 metres, who was in that, me and my wife, same year at school, at Whitefield School.
Yeah.
That was great. Mickey Packer, who came up, he was an apprentice with me at Watford. That was lovely to see him. And, you know, like I said, the Paul Heaton of the House Martins, or what was it, Beautiful South. Yeah. And Sean Bean, John Motson, and a few others. Just fantastic. One of the very emotional for me on the night, you know. But there's been a few others. I mean, my testimonial in '86 when there was 21,000, he broke the record on the crowd for that season, and you know, being honoured as a director. Just fantastic. Ambassador for what, 12, 13, 14 years now, I think. Just great honours.
And there was another one, because in 2014 you
Oh,
were voted
blimey,
as the club's
Yeah.
greatest
Well,
greatest ever player, which obviously is a great honour for you, but the photographs, let's be honest, Tony, you didn't look that chuffed, in all honesty. And
It's
I know,
like he expected to win.
yeah, probably knew, didn't you?
No.
Well, who did
No.
you think it might go to?
Well, you don't know, do you? Woody, Agan, Keith Edwards. He'd want me to say that.
Oh, he would, yeah.
Definitely would.
He'll be very
He
happy
still
now.
thinks it's him anyway. All
But
right.
you do get on, don't you?
All
So
right,
let's
Keith.
just, for the record, those two do
Keith.
get on. Yeah,
Oh,
you and Keith.
I love him to bits, Keith.
Yeah.
I think he's great. I'm probably one of the only ones that get on with him.
But the photographs, you looked a bit miserable.
I did. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was well.
But do people
do
get
a-
you wrong, though? Because
I-
people
I-
say this about him all the time.
I
don't
do
they?
apologise.
But United's greatest ever player, but a lot of people say, "Oh, he's a bit miserable, isn't he, TC? A bit miserable."
Yeah, well,
Are you just simply misunderstood, Tony? Is that what it is?
yeah,
maybe?
totally misunderstood.
Yeah, I
it's
think
just
so.
it's just me. It's just the way my face is.
Just the way his face
It's
is.
Can't
dropped.
change that now, can we?
No. Hey, look at this
Well,
one. Have you seen
surgery.
this one? And more
Yeah.
importantly, look at that
Yeah.
one.
We've got some
Yeah.
good lookers today, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I can laugh when it's necessary.
Well, it's necessary. Right, we're going to have a bit of fun with you. As I mentioned, Kev's here from the media team. There's a section that we're going to have most weeks called Teammates. All right?
All right.
This is how it's going to work. We've purposely not told you about this, so you couldn't Google and do any kind of research. Kev, tell us how this is going to work.
Right, TC. So what we did a few weeks ago, I was sitting with Chris Basham and we were talking about an old team that he played early in his career, and he was trying to guess all his teammates that played alongside him in a game against West Ham in the League Cup. So I thought he quite enjoyed doing it, so I thought we'd drag this up to you. So we've got a couple of your teams that you played in, and I'll give you a little bit of a clue. It's your England debut, your Sheffield United debut, but what I'm going to start with is your final ever Sheffield United game, well, official Sheffield United game. May the 4th, 1976, 30,000 inside Bramall Lane. It was a 1-1 draw against Birmingham City. Remember it?
In at Bramall Lane.
At Bramall Lane.
Right. Okay.
We were relegated that season.
Yes, I know. We were relegated by Christmas, as far as I can.
I've got
Yeah.
a 1-1 draw,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, I'll start you off. I'll give you a clue with who else played in this team, because he scored the goal, and I think it's who you rate as your favourite ever Sheffield United player, the one and only Alan Woodward.
Yeah.
So you played, Woody played, Can you tell me the other 9 starters for Sheffield United that day?
It's not against the clock, this, is it?
No, it's not against the clock. We're not on
be
a
here a
time
while.
limit.
Well, it was either Brownie or Tom McAllister, was it?
It was Brownie, Jim
Right.
Brown.
Yeah. Well,
Ago.
it weren't Badge.
No,
No. Ted would have played.
no,
No, he didn't play left
No.
back. Alan Ogden.
no.
Oh my.
This is a good start, isn't it? This is a great feature.
Oh, my
Who
dear.
came up with this?
Tony Field.
No,
Kenworthy.
correct.
Yeah, because Kenworthy, Stainrod, and Keith Edwards all got in the team. Are they all playing?
Stainrod.
Stainrod
Yes.
played. Keith didn't.
Keith didn't know.
Oh, he must have had a cold.
He should have done. Yeah.
Must have had a cold.
Wait till we get Keith on this show and he starts hammering you when you're
I
hammering
weren't
him.
That's gonna
hammering
be
him.
fun.
Well,
He'd-
we're
he'd
going
have
to.
won-
We're
he'd have
going
won-
to.
He should have been playing because he was, he was up and coming then. He was about 18.
We obviously didn't need a goal hanger that day.
obviously goal hanger.
He was just economical with his running. That's what he
he
tells
moved
everybody.
about. He moved about well. A great player,
Centre off from your heyday.
Eddie Cologne.
Yeah,
Flinney, was he still here? Yeah, Flinney.
he didn't play.
Oh right.
How many have we got left to get?
We've got another 5 to get, and I think we're going to have to start helping him a little bit here
Yeah.
because we'll be here all
Well,
night.
Sammy had gone. Dave Bradford.
Yes,
Who would have been right back? Not Steve Goulding.
correct.
Oh right.
Oh, we're coming.
Here we
It's
go.
coming.
Here we go.
Yeah. I can't think who would have been left back. Not Steve Faulkner at centre back with Eddie.
No.
No, they wouldn't have played both of them. Great on the ball, them two. Got another midfield player, haven't we? Ock had gone.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy had gone. Terry Nicol?
No.
Oh, I thought I'd got that then.
We've got fans for a certain age shouting at the
Yeah, I know.
shouting this out now. So I'll give you the last 3 and we can move on. We've got more teams to do. We ain't got all day.
Go on then.
We've got, playing up front, Chris Guthrie.
Oh, Chris. Sorry, Chris. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Paul Garner.
Yeah, left back.
Yeah.
Yes. Shoot.
And
Sorry.
finally, Cliff Calvert.
Oh, Cliff, yeah.
Yeah.
Blimey, I didn't realise I'd played with him.
No?
No.
It was your final game.
Well, that's got the grey matter going for now.
Yeah.
We're going to come back and do a little bit more on that later on. But let's talk about your role at the moment, football in the community. You've been doing it for 2 decades, you said.
Yeah, well, I
2 decades.
from 88 to
Yeah.
to 2008, so I haven't done that since for 13 years. Is it?
11.
But you did it.
11
You
years.
did it for 2 decades. pretty
I
much.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
20 years, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Are you taking any credit then for any of the kids that went through that programme
Well,
and went on to have a career?
Sharpie was on it quite a few times. George Long,
Yeah.
he was on it quite a bit.
And just to jump in there, when you see kids like Billy and George, be honest, when you see them kicking a ball about at a very young age, with your specially trained eye, do you say, "Oh, hang on a minute, might be something there"? With
Oh,
those
of course, yeah. You
Do
always,
you?
you can, yeah, of course. They they were head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, a lot of it was babysitting. You know, I mean, we didn't charge. No, it was.
No,
We didn't-
my son's done similar stuff.
Yeah, we didn't charge a lot. It was only about 35 quid for the week.
Yeah.
And we had them from like 9 in the morning till, 3:30. So it was cheap babysitting, really. And it really was. There was probably 40% was babysitting and the rest was, Jordan Slew. Just
Yeah,
remembered
Jordan
him.
Slew,
He was on it.
crikey, blast from the past.
He was on it a lot, Jordan. And so was Ben Starosta. He was on me Saturday club and on me soccer schools throughout. We had them from 6 years old to 13.
And do you then, having seen what they can do, do you then recommend those kids to players, to coaches here?
Well, yeah, we there was that little bit of passing information on, but not too much. They let me get on with what I did, and obviously I did recommend a few of them here and there, but it wasn't that often.
How much did you enjoy it though?
I loved it. I learned a hell of a lot. How to organise people, how to speak to people, parents and that. You had to speak to them, especially on the last day when you're giving the prizes out, and you know, you got 100 parents there and everything, and you know, bookkeeping. I had to do the books. I had to do appraisals for my staff. I had to do reports for the bosses up in Manchester in the PFA offices. So yeah, learnt a hell of a lot, and I'm very, very proud of what we did. And not only, you know, getting players through, perhaps half a dozen, I can't remember them all, but I've mentioned 4. But bums on seats. You know, we had kids. We had birthday parties here every night, Monday to Friday, 4:30 to 6:30.
Who was the entertainment? Was that you?
No. They bought all their stuff. We gave them a game of football. It was a 2-hour stint, and we gave them a game of football for the first hour, and then they had their party, and then we had to sweep up and clean the tables. And I used to say to the parents, when I was washing the tables, I'd look up to the parents and say, I used to play for England, you know.
They all went, yeah, right,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, that you know, we had them from 4 to 13 years of age again, and a lot of them came as fans, but a lot of them didn't. You know, they'd invite 20. There'd be 20 kids.
Yeah.
And probably 15 of them kids would go home and say, I want to be a Sheffield United supporter and stuff. They used to go home with a signed programme by the birthday boy got a signed ball by all the players and stuff like that. So.
And then they're hooked, you see. You know.
Exactly. So, you know, the soccer schools and the birthday parties, I'm sure I can account for perhaps 10% of the crowd, I don't know.
Only 10. You mentioned England. Of course, you did represent England, but you do continually get teased, don't you, about the Poland game?
Teased? Reminded, yeah.
That's just in the office.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly, yeah. Tell us about that, the experience of it.
Well, we lost in Poland. I was sub for that game. Bawley got sent off. We lost 2-0. Bobby Moore made 2 mistakes. It was the end of his career. Anyway, I got to play in the final game of the group in the October '73, and we were big favourites because they just lost to. I think Poland had just lost to Austria, and the month before we beat Austria 7-0 at Wembley. I got my first goal against them for England, and. You know, we were favourites, and we were shooting him for 90 minutes, and that horrible man Tomaszewski, who I met about 20 odd years ago in London, it was quite good. He apologised.
Did you forgive him?
Yeah, give him a cuddle and a kiss. Yeah, no, it was the dressing room after the game was silent. Alf Ramsey didn't say much at all. And I think, was it Don Howie's coach at the time? And it was just very depressing. And that was October, and I think we all had depression. We spoke after in the summer about it, some of the boys, England boys, and they all couldn't get over that. It was just a nightmare. And for me, it would have been even worse had we qualified, because I had a cartilage out. I got shot at Manchester City main road. Well, you know, when a cartilage goes, you go down like you're shot. And,
no, it's rough around main road. Well, it used to be, but not that rough.
and obviously I had the cartilage out, and I wouldn't have gone to the World Cup in '74 anyway. So perhaps it was all right for me to get knocked out. But we had to win the game, and we only drew 1-1. But there you go.
And something else that you get reminded about, the QPR Cup final. Sorry to do this.
We're focusing on some good bits here, aren't we?
Don't worry, there's some really nice stuff on the way, I promise.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Cup final, I played 3 semi-finals up the road in Yorkshire. Three seasons there, and 3 different seasons where in the semi-final. Lost every one, thought I'd never get there. I'm 32 years old playing for QPR. And we beat West Brom in the semi at Highbury, and I'm in the final with the FA Cup against one of my idols, Glenn Hoddle, and Steve Perryman playing, and Archibald and Crooks and Graham Roberts, the killer, and and Clements in goal and all that, and we did well for the first game. The first game, Oddle got a goal which it went through my legs on the edge of the box, and it just shaved my left calf, and it just went about 3 or 4 inches to the right of Peter Rucker. Otherwise, he'd have saved it. So that was down to me. But we got back in the game, and the replay on the Thursday night, I gave away the pen in the first 10 minutes, chasing Graham Roberts, and we was as slow as each other. He had a 2-yard start on me, and it was after 50 yards, it was still 2 yards. So I just dived in, and I shouldn't have done. I only realised this year when I watched it a few months ago, and I realised that I shouldn't have dived in, because I think Terry Fenwick was covering, and I got a roasting at half time by Venners, and anyway, never mind. And but for the rest of the game, they were out on their feet at Spurs. They'd played about 70 games that season, and we should have won that game, but we just couldn't put the ball in the net. But there you go. But thanks for reminding me.
No problem. We're going to move on from it. We've got some good stuff. Obviously, the current manager, Chris Wilder, moving to the here and now. He calls you the club's greatest ever player. You'll know that. But looking at how he likes to play, I'd be really interested to know. Let's just say you're a player these days with the same talent that you had back when you were actually plying your trade properly. How do you think you would fit in to Chris Wilder's system and style of play now? Where would you play, for example? What position?
I think I'd play. I hate saying the number 10 role, but I would play that role. I think the link.
Almost a McGoldrick role then.
Yeah. Or even in between David and perhaps Ollie, in there. But I'd be wanting to float about all over the place and that. But it'd be a pleasure to play with that lot. I mean, I always said before went out on every match, support the man on the ball.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a bit selfish, because I was normally the man on the ball, and it didn't always happen in our great team in the 70s, because we didn't have that many that were that good on the ball. We didn't play sideways and backwards and keep ball and that. We were more. We had speed merchants up front, and I could put a ball anywhere I wanted, more or less, on a sixpence, and that was our play. And it'd be a pleasure, and I'm 100% certain I could fit in this team. It's just that everybody wants the ball, and everybody can handle the ball.
And obviously the work rate as well. This all-action style, just keep going. How do you think your fitness would be?
Oh, me fit. Well, you adapt, don't you? It's like in the 1940s when they said, when you see the 1940s players and in their long shorts, and they look like they don't do anything. but they did their bit of fitness. But if they'd have played in the 70s, like Hagan had played in our team in the 70s, he'd have fitted in, and he'd have been as fit as what we were. It's just different age groups, isn't it? So I'd have been doing the same training as this lot.
How much would you have enjoyed playing on pitches like we've got out here today?
Well, yeah, it's like playing on Wembley every week, isn't it? And it's just fantastic. The ball runs true. You can run a lot better a lot easier on grass all over the pitch than you can on 3 inches of mud after October, like we had to do. So fitness levels were a bit, but we were fit because we had to plough through all that stuff, and it weren't like they cover each other nowadays. I'd get a right roasting if I weren't getting back in me if I'm up the front somewhere on the wing, and I've got to get back into my midfield place, because you didn't always cover so much in them days. So we were box to box. It was in ploughing in the mud.
And they're superstars now, aren't they, in the Premier League? I mean, obviously you were seen as superstars back in the day, but you know where I'm coming from. It's different now. The money's different. Obviously, that's one massive difference. How do you think the lifestyle would suit you of the now? Again, you just adapt to it and get on with it. I mean,
I wouldn't have the earphones in my ears or anything like that. I wouldn't be doing that.
I think you'd look good like that.
Yeah, I do. Lamborghini,
I,
Ferrari.
I certainly wouldn't be having a mobile phone. I wouldn't. I've never been a car person. I've never, look, I was an extrovert on the field and a total introvert off it. I was shy, didn't say boot or goose. And football in the community, that 20 years has brought me out of that. And
That's interesting,
yeah, it has. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're the greatest ever player in pretty much everyone's eyes at Sheffield United. But if you could pick one, who would yours be? I think you might have mentioned him earlier on anyway.
Well,
Would that be Alan Woodward?
The greatest player I ever played with was Woody.
Yeah.
We had and Badge ain't far behind because we had that telepathy with each other, knowing where each other was, bloody moaning at each other all the time. But that's what footballers do. You got to wind the player up if he's not doing his bit.
Yeah. But you said you were an introvert off the field, but
Yeah.
what were your relationships like, for example, with Alan Woodward? Because I guess that's important as well, isn't it? How you get on off the pitch. Did you socialise together much?
No, we didn't social. We did on tour, on the tours, but no.
But day to day, no?
Woody and Eddie Colloon were more or less the two that did their own thing. Like if we after a Saturday match, if we didn't have a midweek game, we'd be out in the Penny Farthing on a Monday night, and it'd be mainly all the boys bar Woody and Eddie Colloon.
Interesting.
So, but we were great mates. Woody was so dry, and but so funny when he weren't smoking.
I can't believe players used to smoke and still play. It's crazy.
Oh, every team had
mad, isn't it?
half a dozen smokers in their team. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And no health and safety. No qualified physios.
Crazy.
Bucket and sponge.
Bucket and sponge. Harry Latham.
Right, let's get those brain cells going again. Kev, back to you.
Yeah, well, let's go to this England debut we'll go to now. We've talked about England and 73 and Poland and the clown, but let's go back the previous year, 23rd of May 1972. Your England debut versus Northern Ireland, so I'm going to assume that's an home internationals game, is it?
Yes, it was, yes. Yes.
You lost 1-0.
Yes. Last minute goal by Terry Neal.
So the team that day, there's one or two, well, all the names that I recognise, and I know
There's
you.
some names on there.
Yeah,
by
you
the
will
way.
as well. So how much do you remember then that game at Wembley?
Well, I did get reminded of a few of them quite a while ago, but
In goal?
well, Schultz, I think.
Yeah.
Schultz, I played a lot of times with England with Schultz.
You weren't
What's
bad,
it
were you?
called? No, he weren't bad. He's my top keeper of all time. England youth, I played with him, under 23s a lot, and 13 caps I got, so he would have been in goal for all them. And then the full team, so played quite a lot with Schultz.
You remember who was captain that day in 72?
No,
Manchester City player. I'm assuming he was at the time.
Colin Bell.
Colin Bell. Good shout. So there's another flair player in a advanced midfield role. I'd have thought, or playing up front. Londoner with long hair, highlighted hair.
Rodney Marsh.
Correct. There's a player here, and I've spoken to you about this a few times before. But he was your hardest ever opponent.
Oh, Peter Storey.
Yeah.
Peter
I'm giving you
Storey.
clues
Yeah.
left, right, centre here.
Yeah. Back four I haven't got yet, have I?
No.
Gee whiz, who would that have been? Norman Hunter.
Correct. Did he not make his debut that day as well?
He could have done, yeah.
Yeah.
He could have done.
Norman Hunter.
Tough cookie.
Somebody with local connections.
Sadly, no longer with us.
Sheffield.
Yeah. The Crazy Horse.
Oh. Yeah, well, I'd have said Emlyn, but I thought it weren't. Yeah,
Yeah.
Emlyn. Yeah, he'd have just that he would have just been getting in the team then.
Yeah, I'd have thought so.
Yeah, great player.
Yeah, not bad.
Great player. Me roommate
Was it?
for a lot of time with England. Yeah. Used to stuff me at Hearts. Card game.
I bet he wasn't an introvert, was he?
No.
The smile says it all. We'll leave that there.
Yeah.
We're missing 4.
Oh
Well,
dear.
there's one in there that I would have thought would have been at Newcastle at the time.
Malcolm
Mm.
McDonald.
There
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, we got another back 4 player?
I think we've got 2.
Toddy.
left. Yes, Colin Todd. Yeah. Well, the centre half recognised for being a bit tough, I'd have thought.
Dave Watson.
No, not Dave Watson. I recognise the name from Forest. I don't know if he'd have been at Forest.
Oh,
any time.
Larry Lloyd.
Yeah.
He was another roommate of mine. Lovely man.
Yeah. And we've got one more. A Manchester City legend.
Mike Summerby.
Correct. That's a good 11, TC.
Scotland 11.
We've done well there.
That's some team, that, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
They lost, Paul.
I know, but even still, when you look at the players on that list,
I
crikey.
got took off after an hour. I was very disappointed because I'd always scored in my debut.
Oh.
That was the only game I didn't score on my debut.
So has he passed that test then?
He's passed that test, yeah. We've only got
Well
one
done.
more.
We've
for
got
him.
one more
Yeah.
coming your way in a
Right,
bit.
thank you.
Back to playing here. Obviously, on the old photographs, and people of a certain age remember the cricket pitch, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
And if you tell people who perhaps don't know the history of Bramall Lane that there used to be a cricket pitch down one side, they look at you a bit gone out. What was it like playing with a cricket pitch down one side?
Strange at first, but got used to it. And it's like playing on the AstroTurf, like at QPR, playing 2 years on the AstroTurf. They come in fear, and it was a bit like that, not being able to be used to it. And
Didn't Ted play? Hemsley, he used to play cricket, didn't he?
Yeah,
He played on there, didn't he?
yeah. We came and watched him play and give him some stick from the terraces. Of course we did. Worcester. Oh, our. No, that's. Where's that from?
You've gone a bit further afield there.
Yeah, I've lost now. 26.5 grand, I think they paid for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was that a lot of money in those days? It must have been.
Not a lot. No, I played up front with the England youth, in the England youth with Alan Evans, if you remember him. Went to Liverpool for 100,000, same,
Oh, right.
very similar time, within a few months of each other.
You were a bargain then.
I was
Absolute
I
steal.
was a bargain, yeah.
There was
Steal,
an interesting
ethical.
story, wasn't there, about Watford when the timing that you came up, because we drew them in the FA Cup.
Yeah, and I got Furphy left me out, so there must have been a reason for that. Third round of the cup, wasn't it? I think. So he left me out, and within a week or so, I was up here
Scoring on your debut
scoring on my debut.
against Spurs.
Yeah. Good old Spurs. Yeah, good old Jimmy Greaves.
It was a header.
It was a header. Yeah, I scored another debut goal with my head.
Past a very, very good goalkeeper.
He weren't bad, Pat Jennings. Yeah,
Pat Jennings.
weren't bad. I scored a few goals against Pat. Saw him the other month.
Did you remind him?
Reminded him. Of course I did.
Straight out of the mould. Keith
Course I
Edwards is
did.
straight out the same mould, isn't he? Absolutely.
I asked it. I said to Pat, I said, who was your greatest player you ever played with? Hoping expecting him to say Jimmy Greaves, because he was my idol, Jimmy. And he went, Bestie. And I went, I forgot about Ireland. Forgot you both played together for Northern Ireland. So there you go. I say Bestie weren't that. Greavesy weren't that bad, I tell you.
What about managers? Because you played under a fair few. Who would you pick out as the best manager?
Without a doubt, Fenners.
Why?
Because he was a tactician. He did the training. He took all the training. Great man management. Great with the press. They all loved him. And the fans loved him because of the way he was. He just, he said it how it was. Very similar to Chris, I think. Or Chris is similar to him.
Yeah.
And I think it was only the FA that didn't like Venners. He should have been manager for 20 years, Venners, England.
You met him recently, didn't you?
Yeah, saw him. We were in Spain and we looked up his little hotel, 12-roomed hotel, idyllic, absolutely fantastic, about an hour from Alicante. And he recognised me. He was on the balcony with a couple of people that was staying there and talking in the sun, the blazing sun. And I just sort of put my head round the corner of a pillar, and not a pillar that you sleep on, a concrete pillar that we were in the garden there, and he sort of did the same, and he went, "TC, how are you?" I said, "Thank you for recognising me," because it had been a while, 20 odd years, but yeah, it was lovely to see him. Lovely to see him. We had half an hour chat, and then he made us pay for our lunch. But there you go. Lovely bloke. But you know, I had Tommy Dock for a couple of years as well before that at QPR, and he was he was a good man manager and stuff like that. But I'd pick Venners anyway. But
The reports are, though, that John Harris was very different to any other manager that you had at that time.
yeah, well, John Harris was the this side of the Pennines, Bill Shankly. Although Bill was more of a outspoken person and a bit, what's the word? I don't know, what's the word? Rough? I don't know.
Forthright.
Forthright, if you like, yeah. Whereas John Harris was very quiet, never swore, never smoked, but a father figure to us all. And, you know, he didn't say a lot to the players. He blaming this and blaming that, but we'd have our team meetings before on a Friday, and he'd start it off, and then Addo or Badge or Ted will take over, and after an hour that was it, and we'd pick the team more or less.
You picked one of the three of you.
And we went out and played how we wanted to. Yeah. Well, we could only play one way. We, you know, attacking. You know, you could have called it the long ball, but it weren't always a long ball. But we had them speed merchants, as I said, and
So in that sense, was it almost too easy for the manager? In the sense that you could only play one way.
I'll tell you why it was too easy.
There wasn't much to be done.
We only had 12 players.
Yeah, well, that's
So it was dead easy.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair point.
I mean, yeah, we had 11 players that more or less played all the time, and there might have been one or two that we could put in that might not disrupt the team too much. But after that, that was it. I mean, Liverpool and Leeds had the squads, the big squads. Perhaps Man United, but the rest, they only had perhaps up to 14 players. I mean, Leeds could have put out 2 international teams in them days.
You had to play when you were not fully fit quite a few times.
Oh, I bet we all did. I bet most people in most of the clubs did. Most of the other clubs, because you know there wasn't the squads, as I say. So you'd just get an injection in you or something, or just limp about. Ock play with a airline fracture for a game after he broke it.
Goodness me, I mean, it just wouldn't happen now, would it? Just would not happen now.
Well, they probably send the players now to have a scan for a cold, whereas in our day, I'm only joking, but in our day, you know, it might have took you a week to get to have an X-ray or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, seeing as you're enjoying yourself so much today, and you've passed our first 2 tests with flying colours, I think we should do another one. Have you got another team?
We've got this. We've just been talking about it, the Tottenham game. So it's his debut. He scored a header against Pat Jennings. Jimmy Greaves, his heroes, played. There's quite a few names in that Tottenham team that I looked. But it's the Sheffield United team that we're interested in from that day, the 11. 1-3-2. You were one of the goal scorers. I'm not going to tell you the other 2 because we've got to try and identify them. So the Sheffield United, that team, that day when you was, I think, what had you been? 18. Just turned 18.
18 and 7 weeks.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So it was a couple of weeks, wasn't it, after you signed?
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
before you
I'd
debuted.
played three. I'd played three. What do they used to call it? The Central League, Reserve League, and I scored in every one of them. And I was a striker in them days. They signed me on as a striker. So
Must have been that pace.
the pace is all in the brain, mate. All in the brain.
Speed of thought.
That's what people with no pace say. Come on then, let's have this team. Who played in goal? I think this is the easy one.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right back,
Mr. Badger,
left back.
Bernard Shaw.
Yeah, I knew
He's
you were
gonna
going to.
get all of these.
It wasn't the obvious one.
Every faith.
Centre halves?
Ken Mallender,
Correct.
Barry Wagstaff.
Yeah.
Did he play in the back?
I don't know. It was before my time, TC.
Yeah.
But he got one of the goals as well. So
I know he
I'll pass
did.
that one up.
And Reese got the other.
There we go. Gil Reese.
So Reese's on the left wing.
Yeah.
Woody on the right. Colin Addison up front with me. Yeah?
Yeah, you're missing
Oh,
one.
lovely.
He's
You're missing
nailing
two.
this.
You're missing two. So Woody, by the way, played in your first and last game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Woody.
The team changed obviously quite a lot over those 8 years, but you and Woody both played in that game in 68 and 76.
We've got 9 of the 11, have we?
Yeah, we're missing two.
Dear, dear, dear. And it's not Frank Barlow.
It's not Frank Barlow.
Um,
So we got the 11 England players, didn't we? We got about 7 or 8 of the last game.
left midfield.
Where would Gil Reese have played?
He'd have played left wing. Yeah, well, we played 4-2-4 in them days.
Okay. So I think we're looking for the midfielders then,
Two
aren't we?
midfielders, yeah.
Yeah.
Not Barney.
Nope.
John Barnwell. Gee whiz. Oh, Monksy.
Yes.
Monksy
yeah.
crossed the ball for me.
Oh.
Monksy crossed the ball for me.
For
For
your
me
goal.
header. Yeah. Bramall Lane in, boys. How
Last
many
one.
people did you say was there?
I've not got that fact.
All right.
I've not got that written down.
Would that have helped you? How would that help
Did
you?
it all
What with
come
the
together?
What the
11th
crowd was.
With the 11th player. Oh, give me an initial. Give me a clue.
WC.
Oh, Willie Carlin, for God's sake, the smallest player ever to play football. Ever.
How big was he?
Ever. 4'6".
He wasn't.
He
In
was.
heels.
That was without his studs
He
on.
can't
though.
have been 4 foot.
He
6.
wasn't
How big's
that
4
much
foot
bigger,
6?
I'm
wasn't
telling you.
4 foot
That's
6.
like there, isn't it?
He's not that much. He was the smallest player to play. I do. Well, let's look it up somewhere. Some of you out there, come on.
Someone will find him.
He went to Derby. Derby County bought him. He only played them 13. I played 13 games that season. I only played with him 13 games. He was like Bobby Collins at Leeds. You know, he'd run through a brick wall. He's unbelievable tackler and whatever. But Derby bought him that end of that season, and they went on and won the league next season with him.
Mhm.
And he's still around. Still lives in Derby.
Ah.
And I ain't bumped into him yet.
You might be listening to this.
Hopefully,
Well, he's that small, you can't bump into him, you can't see him.
come to
Like
a game,
borrower,
Willie.
you
Come
described him as a borrower there.
to a game, Willie. Love to see you.
You can have him as your guest.
And I was only joking about the 4'6". I know you're only 4'10".
Right. So the memory's sharp. The memory's sharp. So in that regard, we've got some quick fire questions to finish with. We've managed, well, he has, to get his hands on a copy of your answers from a Q&A with Shoot magazine in the early 1970s.
Yeah.
Mid-70s, I think.
Mid-70s.
I think, yeah.
We've picked out 5 of your answers. And what we want to know is, can you remember what you said and whether the answers still ring true today?
Right.
Right, Paul. So we've done this with him before, by the way. When we've printed it out, before we had this idea,
Yep.
we've done this with him before. So he knows some of these answers. So what he doesn't know is that we've picked different answers to what he had before.
Righto.
Different questions. you
Right.
see?
Okay.
Because we were talking about his likes and his dislikes before, and it used to be, just for example, it was crosswords. He used to like crosswords, and he still likes crosswords today.
Yes.
But he thinks I was going to ask him about crosswords because we've talked about that before, but I'm not. I've got different ones.
I'd have forgot that again, by the way.
He is cruel.
Should have left it in.
So this is mid-70s. It's after 74, but before you left Sheffield United in 76. So it's definitely around the middle. So if that's going to help you with your answers.
Oh, absolutely.
What was your car at the time?
74 to 76.
Yeah.
1600E.
What makes that?
Ford.
Nope.
Oh, it weren't that
We've
then?
not got a Ford.
All right, okay. That must have been earlier then. That was the one I wrote off. Oh, yeah, that was... Yeah.
Just
No.
slip that one in.
I wrote it off,
What
yeah.
happened there then?
What happened there? We played Tottenham away and lost
I knew there'd be
2-0.
a story. I knew it.
And we'd had a week of sunshine, brilliant sunshine, and I'd gone to pick the missus up in Dronfield. We came back to the lane after the game, went to Dronfield and Meadowhead roundabout. It was raining, right? So my back end went, not my bum, the back end of the car,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, blimey, better be careful tonight. So I went to the penny farthing, picked her up, went to the farthing with all the girls, the wives. That was the Saturday night out for the light. Anyway, I had 2 Bacardi and Cokes. I'd only just started drinking the year before. I'd never had alcohol till I was 21. This is 1972. Anyway, so I've come out of the farthing 2 hours later, come home, gone down Eyre Street, and where Decathlon is now, there's a left-hand bend, isn't there? Well, me back end started skidding, and I straightened it up, but straight into a lamppost. Ended up with a V in me lovely 1600E, which was the car of the year then, obviously. And I said no, it was a lovely car. I'd got 2 cracked ribs and a big gash out my knee, a really big gash, and the police came and they went, "Are you all right? You're going to be fit for Saturday."
I love it.
But before they came, where Decathlon is, there was a pub behind there, and the bloke came out and he went, "TC, have this," and he gave me a large brandy.
Settle your nerves.
Put me over the top, didn't it,
Brilliant.
breathalyzer?
Lovely.
Oh, goodness me.
Put me over. I was just over the top, even with the brandy, and well, that's it. That's the story. So if it ain't that was in 1972. So that was out the window. So
What
that
car did you have to replace
Going
it?
back to the original.
was it a Toyota Celica?
No.
Oh, for crying out!
I think you must have made this one up.
Did I put Rolls Royce?
Shall I give it you?
No.
Do you want an initial?
Yeah.
D.
Oh! I got sponsored by DC Cook. It was a Datsun,
Correct.
a white Datsun. Got
Yes.
sponsored by DC Cook at 4-lane. Anyway, up that way. Yeah.
It was a Datsun. Well
Yeah.
done. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
Like I say, this is after 74, but before 76. Biggest disappointment. What did you say your biggest disappointment was?
Was it the Poland game?
Yeah. Yeah. And not going to the World Cup in 74
Yeah, it was
because
all-
of the Poland game.
yeah.
Next one. This is a little bit of a strange one. Best country visited.
Holland.
Yeah, why do you say Holland?
Straight in there.
Yeah.
Straight in there. Because I went to Holland with Watford on a propeller job.
What? What?
A propeller.
Oh,
Yeah.
propeller plane.
Yeah, my first ever flight, which is why I'm still no good at flying. At 15, youth tournament for youth boys, and then I went to Holland and Amsterdam every year till I was 31,
All right.
and I just fell in love with it. Just love Holland.
Is that still the case now then?
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't live in England, I'd probably live in Holland, or now I'm old and decrepit, probably Spain for the heat.
Is it because it's flat?
Yeah. You don't like
Yeah,
walking
yeah,
up hills?
No hills, is there?
No, there's no hills, no.
What was it though about Holland?
It was just the lifestyle, the food. It was just lovely, just lovely. I love me food, and that.
He does.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Just a bit.
Right, Kev. Holland then.
Favourite singers? What was your favourite singers back then?
in them
In
days,
them
it
days.
was probably. I don't know. I don't know. Would it have been Elton John?
No,
No?
not Elton John.
Wow. Santana,
Nope.
who were instrumental anyway.
Instrumental in what?
Who were instrumental in the question.
The two big ones that obviously still people talk about.
I was going to
easily.
first say Lionel Richie.
Wrong.
Oh.
Are we talking bands or?
We're talking one band and one soloist.
Kinks?
No. You obviously didn't like him that much back then, did you? Well, they'd just been popular.
Beatles?
Beatles is one,
Yeah.
and then a singer,
Male or female?
male. You had better vision than him.
Oh, Stevie.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder. Good joke.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Last one then. You ready?
Yeah.
I was going to get him to sing a Stevie Wonder song then.
I just can't. No, that ain't. That's Lionel Richie, isn't it?
No.
No, that's Stevie.
Oh, it is
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie. All right.
Don't let us stop you though.
No. I sang for the Senior Blaze last Christmas, and I'm wondering whether I'm going to be doing it again.
You sung last Christmas?
Oh, what a night!
You should have sung Last Christmas.
Yeah, last Christmas.
Last one before this goes
That George
awry.
Michael.
Massively awry.
Is that George? Oh no, that's Live Aid, isn't it?
Oh God.
George Michael.
George Michael. Well,
Whammy, probably,
he was
yeah.
my, Careless Whisper's my all-time favourite.
Is it?
And he was.
I would not have thought that.
No.
I really wouldn't.
I'm a romantic, mate.
Yeah. I would not have thought George Michael, Careless Whisper.
Are we just going to let that one go? That he's a romantic. He's just told us he's a romantic.
I think we need to check with.
Liz.
Yeah.
Well, she
See whether that's actually
she's not
true.
gonna blooming agree with that. No. Go
Last
on.
one.
Yeah.
So this was, remember, this is after 74, but before 76, so somewhere around about 75. Professional ambition. What was your professional ambition back then? And if it helps, I'm going to give you a clue. It didn't materialise. Your professional ambition. So it's a football-based ambition.
Yeah. Playing the World Cup finals.
Correct. In 1978. That's what
Wow.
you said.
All right.
Yeah.
We didn't qualify again.
So you struggled there.
My
Yeah.
2 years as an England player spanning from 72 to 79, and we never qualified in 74, 78.
Well, I'm glad you said that and not me.
I just want people to feel sorry for me.
That's it. There's my questions, Paul.
Good stuff.
We
Good
got there in
stuff.
the end.
You enjoyed that?
I did, yeah, very much so. Very
I
good.
need to ask you one final question on Sheffield United of the now in the
Yeah.
Premier League and how are they going to do this season? Where are they going to finish, do you think?
Well, I've changed my mind. As I said in my room last against the Man United game, I've changed my mind because I said before a ball was kicked that we would get 14th or better, and I really believe we can get in the top half now.
What about you? What
At
about Europe?
least,
What
at
about
least.
Europe?
Well, I wouldn't.
And people might raise an eyebrow at that, but I say, what about Europe? Because look at Wolves.
I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't because, I mean, we were a bit apprehensive first few games. I think because we're in a different league and that top league, but we started playing now like we've been playing for 3 years. And it's just a joy to watch. And we're not fearing anybody now because we've made Liverpool look ordinary, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, Everton away, so with nothing to fear.
No, I think
And
you're absolutely right.
and they're just a great bunch of lads with a great team above them, the manager and Alan and the other boys looking after them, and it's just fantastic, and I'm looking forward to us next season, in the same league and doing even better.
Great time to be a Blade. Listen, thank you for joining us. I think you need to go and find Liz because I know she's out shopping with your probably your credit card at the moment. So I think you need to go and hunt her down and make sure she's
I'll
not
just-
maxed it out.
Do it romantically.
Yes.
I will.
Sing Careless Whisper to her.
I wondered why she renewed my credit card the other day. She did. Honestly, that's funny. That yeah. No, I've got to buy her a bunch of flowers. I ain't bought her one for 5 years.
5 years?
No, I'm kidding.
10 years.
It's the worst romantic I've ever heard.
Listen, thanks again for joining us. It's been
No
an
prob.
absolute delight. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. And that is it. That's our pilot episode done. for one of our own, the official Sheffield United podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
You hope so, Paul?
Fingers crossed. A quick reminder to all Blades fans and those who want to be Unitedites, you can find, follow, like, subscribe, whatever you do on social media. We can be found on the web. Look at this: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I've heard of that, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and playing out there, of course, on the pitch, predominantly on a Saturday afternoon, of course. And don't forget to check the fixture list. I've been Paul Walker, still am. He's Kev Cookson, still is. And he is still, and probably always will be, Sheffield United's greatest ever player. TC,
thank
you very much
Thank
again
you.
for joining us on one of our own. We will be back around Christmas, which is not far away, with a special guest. And I'm told it's not Santa, it's somebody better than that.
Thomas Chef.
I wonder who that could be. It's not going to be Thomas Chef. Thanks for watching, listening, wherever you are, and we'll speak to you again soon.